you at the top of the hour, the top of the show, and the top of the flow for having us locked in and clocked in and docked in on them raggedy radios this afternoon. Please do yourselves a favor and turn them up nice and loud to get you a big, big, big Friday afternoon crowd. And then go one step further. Call your family, call your friends, call your next door neighbors, call them co-workers, call them slow workers, except them city controlled parking meters out there, parking attendants. They not no slow workers. They will give you a ticket before the drummer get wicked. But you're tuned to the state of the city. Let me thank all of you for having us locked in on them raggedy radios. And let me thank all of you for your continued support of the state of the city. And if you'd like to get a copy of this show or any of our previous shows with the flow, you know how it goes, y'all. Give me a call, 410-878-5298. And let me start the show off as we always do by dedicating the show to my brother and friend, Brother Eric Easton. And let me just dedicate this show to all of the citizens, the men, the women, and the children that came out last night to Edmondson High School for the mayor, for the interim mayor, and the interim mayor's cabinet, and the interim members down there in City Hall for the town hall meeting and the town hall greeting that they received from the genuine citizens in Baltimore City. So I thank all of you that took time out of your busy schedules on a Thursday night and came out to be a part of the town hall meeting. We'll talk a little about that this afternoon, but I got a special guest, and he's really no special guest. He's just my brother. Got two of them sitting in the studio with me, and we'll bring them up in just a minute so we can get right in it this afternoon. Let me get a couple announcements out the way, and then we're going to get right into the show and the flow this afternoon. Don't forget, Badu, the Black Anti-Defamation United League, will be presenting, again, the Hip Hop Warriors Part 2 with the founding members of Public Enemy, one of them, the Minister of Information, Brother Professor Griff, along with Brother Philip Muhammad, author of the book, Hip Hop Nation, the New Willie Lynch Slave, as well as Dr. Wesley Muhammad, one of our scholars, as we will be going into and dissecting the secret relationship between blacks and Jews, the Blue Book and the Red Book. And this event is going down April the 16th at the National Great Blacks in Wax Museum. And if you want more information, give us a call to get your tickets and go online to get your tickets at Badu, B-A-D-U-L, the number 4justice.com. That's www.battleforjustice.com. And you can give us a call at 410-878-5298. And of course, don't forget as well, we're going to be having more special guests that's going to be joining us. And so we'll save the rest of our announcements toward the end of the show and the flow, as well as, of course, reminding you about the Expo, the Minority Business Expo and Summit that is taking place, of course, from March the 24th to the 27th, right there at the Palladium Conference Center. And we'll talk about that toward the end of the show. But now, family, it gives me great honor and privilege to have an opportunity to bring my brother and friend, as we promised you yesterday, that we will have an opportunity to hear from our brother. He's no stranger to those of us, again, as I've said before on these airwaves of WFBR. He, of course, is the former host of the Powers Report over on the campus of Morgan State University, former host of Point Blank Radio Show on the airwaves of Radio 1. He is, of course, the former FBI agent and author of the book, Eyes to My Soul, The Rise and Decline or Rise and Fall of an FBI Agent. He, of course, is the prodigal son of Baltimore City and Baltimore City Public Schools, and one of the founding members and executive director of Children's First, as well as the People's Plan to dramatically reduce crime. So we welcome him back to these airwaves of WFBR, and welcome him back to just the audience here as we continue to stay abreast and stay updated with our brother, who, again, is one of the most sought-after experts when we talk about crime, when we talk about policing, and when we talk about policy. That he is a professor at the College of Anne Arundel County Community College and continuing to teach at Coppin State University to shape and mold our young people who want to go into the criminal justice system and the justice system to fight for the voiceless and the choiceless, as this brother has always done so eloquently. And so we welcome back to these airwaves my brother and friend, Dr. Tyrone Powers. Peace, Doc. How are you?
Peace. I'm fine. Thanks for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. I know we've been trying to get together over the past few weeks and months. I've been doing some traveling, but whenever I get the opportunity to get back and get offered the opportunity, I'm always glad to come in.
Yes, sir. Always honored to have you. And, of course, also seated to our right, and, of course, he's filming for BeMoreNews.com, is our brother and friend, of course, host of and founder of BeMoreNews.com, and, of course, You can hear him on the airwaves of WLB 1010 a.m. every Tuesday morning with the Empowerment Zone radio show, Brother Donnie Glover. Peace, Brother Donnie. How are you?
Peace, big brother.
All right. It's good to have you in the studio, brother. Yes, sir.
Let me just say this about Donnie. Donnie and I go back a long ways. We used to argue with each other, but we've always been on mission. And Donnie helped me a great deal when I first began to get involved in radio because, as you know, as an author, you get used to putting your thoughts in writing, but not so much giving presentations and voicing your thoughts. And when I first went on the air over at Morgan, I was speaking unlike the way I was writing, and Donnie had been in radio and in communications, and he would come in and say, you know, these are an excellent point, but you need to slow down, you need to get this right. And I've always appreciated that. I always said that it's only a person with low self-esteem that cannot take a critique and what may be considered criticism and use it to get better, not bitter. Right. And if you have low self-esteem, if you are a fragile personality, in which black people can't afford to be in this day and age in this country, then anytime someone say, brother, maybe you should look at this, or maybe you should change this, or you need to work on this, then we'll take it as a personal insult, and they become our enemy, when in reality, they are more our friend than our enemy, because our enemies will continue to allow you to go along the path towards destruction. That's Your friend will step in with a helping hand that sometimes we see as our position, and it wasn't, and I've always appreciated that in Donnie, and he may not know how heartfelt I knew his presentation was when he came to me and corrected me on some things when I was on the radio, but I took it to heart, and I did put it in motion, and even when he brought it to me, I said, well, thank you, brother. Yes, I didn't say, why are you telling me that? I'm the expert, you're not the expert, you've been doing, I said, thank you, brother, and I began to work on it. It was an evolutionary process, not a revolutionary process, but I thank him for my start and my growth in radio and in communications, all communications, too. So thank you, Brother Donnie.
Thank you, big
All right, again, family, just tuning in. Having a conversation with Dr. Tyrone Powers, and we'll open up the line shortly. The phone number to get in on the conversation is 410-761-1592, 410-761-1592. But Doc, there's been so much that's been going on here in the city of Baltimore this past weekend, which probably the most deadliest weekend in the city of Baltimore since January the 9th, where we had the shooting outside of the Select Club Lounge of Officer William Torbett, in which that case still remains open. No videotape, no audio tape, nothing has been released. We just had the recent, of course, conviction of the serial rapist and murderer, William Vincent Brown, this past Friday as well. And then we see the attack on Delegate Jill P. Carter, one of the few delegates and elected officials who's been standing up persistently and consistently for our people in Annapolis and in Baltimore as well. And now we see just yesterday the mayor had a town hall meeting at Evanston High School and poorly attended because there was no real outreach, there was no real public relations, as we're finding with this mayor, as her previous predecessor, with reaching out to the community when you had a young man who worked for the city, David McLaughlin Jr., who was stabbed right across the street from Evanston High School at the Shell gas station in the next block this past weekend. So, one, got to start with that and talk about this issue that I read in the paper this morning, where you get Debbie Owens, who has been heavily tied to most of the corruption that we've been seeing coming out of the Baltimore City Police Department. She receives an award from Baltimore City, from the mayor in City Hall, when we know Debbie Owens, who received this award, which is called the Richard Linsky Senior Award of Excellence and Public Service, at a ceremony yesterday, when going back to looking at the shredding of documents, looking at what Joanne Woodson Branch talked about with everything that went around the whole issue of the trial board and the officers not being disciplined or being disciplined, and there never being any transparency. And she said everything she did was micromanaged by Debbie Owens. Can you speak to just, I guess, the corruption that's going on in the city of Baltimore is what we're really talking about?
Yeah, we are, and it's systemic, and it's existed for a long time, and much of it is due to our inability to choose proper leadership, to develop proper leadership, and choose proper leadership, because then these people flourish like a bacteria, because there's nothing to counteract their activities. You look at Debbie Owens, when you think about it, if you go back and read even the lawsuit by the black police officers, who they were successful in winning that lawsuit, and look at her name being mentioned in that, in terms of what she did in terms of harming them within the police department, and look at her history. But if we had leadership with courage, Brother Dunn, and I'll continue to say this, and then we'll get into the details of what you're talking about, but if we had leadership with courage, then those people would not exist.
That's
if we
right.
had a leader who came in and said that I'm determined, that I'm on a mission,
Right.
My ambition is to make Baltimore City better. It is to change the condition and the situation for the people who have been harmed in this city for so long, then a lot of those people, like Debbie Owens and others, wouldn't be here. There's no way that Bill would be chief for the police department. Now, I always want to say this.
Right.
These are not personal attacks.
That's right.
I don't eat dinner with these people personally.
Right.
I don't go out with them. I don't attend church with them. So I'm not talking about them personally. I'm talking about their position and the role they should be playing and making this city better and dramatically reducing violence in this particular city. There's no way that our expectations should be so low that we look at 18 shootings over a weekend and we're not really alarmed and up in arms. This is not the bombings that are going on in Libya. This is not Egypt. This is not Northern Ireland with the Irish and the Provisional Irish Republican Army. This is Baltimore City, a city that technically is supposed to be at peace. We're in peacetime in Baltimore City. There's no civil war. There's no war. So if you can't come up with solutions to reduce violence in a time of what should be a peacetime, then your leadership is bad and it has to be removed. We are so clear. If a baseball team doesn't do well, we'll remove the manager. If a football team doesn't do well, we'll remove the coach. But if a city have 18 shootings in one weekend, we're giving out awards to people for their personal service.
That's right.
And we have a mayor that's holding town hall meetings rather than state of emergency meetings. This is a state of emergency, and we're having a commissioner that are making excuses rather than coming up with solutions. We don't really need any more press conferences where the commissioner's talking about, well, we have too many guns on us. Well, you knew that when you took the job.
That's right.
It wasn't like somebody all of a sudden walked up to you and said, we have guns on the street. There's a problem with the court system. When they asked you to become chief or commissioner of the police department, you knew what the problems were. You do not take on that battle if you can't fix it. You can't keep complaining about it. You know, President Harry S. Truman said, if you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen. In other words, you know the kitchen is hot. You know what the situation is in Baltimore. Don't take the position and keep talking about how hot it is in the kitchen. Turn the temperature down. And we haven't had leadership in the mayor's office, in city council, and any of those positions that have been willing to do that. The truth of the matter is we've had a lot of our leadership that taking those positions have gotten there, not because that was their ambition. Stephanie Rollins Blake, father, ushered her into politics, and let's be honest, and again, this is not a personal attack on her. I hope she loves her children love her family relations, this is not personal. But the reality of the matter is that she's not prepared to be mayor of a city in crisis. And we are a city in crisis. We are a city, you know, as I speak to some of the pastors of the church, I said, you know, where is Christ in all this crisis? We are a city in crisis, and our leadership have to be leadership that can deal with crisis situations. And we can't play with that. We can't go with who we like. If I like their personality, if I think they're a nice, kind person, that doesn't really matter. I don't care if we don't like them, if they have no personality, if they can change the condition to dramatically reduce crime, increase our graduation rates, increase the education rates in general, increase the health care situation with black people. Walk around this city and you see people walking around, they just waiting to die with all kinds of diseases. We increase the health care we get, increase the dental plan that our children get, because you can't study algebra if you got a abscess in your mouth. And that's not a grade problem or an SAT or a study problem. You're in pain. If we don't have leadership that have enough vision to see that all of these things are connected, that they're not mutually exclusive, then you don't have true leadership. So Stephanie Rollins Blake is not talking about all of these issues, are not meeting not only with the head of the school system, but the police department, the health department, all in one time, and a crisis command center, then we will never adequately resolve this problem. And the last part of this, I'll say this. You know, I'm so thankful for your program. I'm so thankful for Donnie Glover's BeMoreNews.com, because I know people read that here around the world and outside of this city. I was in Chicago and people there are actually reading that, because the reality of the matter is it's going to take a education of the public too. Our public is thirsty for strong leadership, and we keep giving them dirt. You know, Richard Pryor once told a joke that said that if a man is thirsty in a desert, he'll drink dirt. And that's what we've given. Our people are thirsty, they want leadership, and we keep giving them dirt. And we have to say it, even if we like the people who we are calling leaders. It's not personal. They have not provided the kind of leadership that we've had. We first went into radio, and I used to be on Radio 1, there were people there always talking about ratings and numbers and all. I said, look, we can't afford to do radio the way other people do radio.
Right. The white
Over at
people
Morgan,
do.
we can't do the Mark Steiner show.
Right.
We're not interested in ratings and entertaining and what's the most exciting. Our mission is different. We got to say, we can't be a team in the fourth quarter down 3 touchdowns, playing like we up 3 touchdowns. They got some leeway. They can joke and laugh and kid and play. And, you know, and I'm saying there could be some humor in what we do, but the fact of the matter is we're on a greater mission than increasing our ratings. And if that is your mission, to increase your ratings, to increase commercials, increase advertisement, then you won't have the mission of saving your people. I would suggest that if we stay on the mission of saving our people, the advertisers will come. Because the people will come. The people are tired of hearing lies, and there's something innate in them that know what the truth sound like. And you can increase your listenership by giving the people something to change the lives of them. No mother want to see her child shot down or stabbed at a gas station, or no mother want to see her daughter turn from sugar and spice and everything nice to being a whore and a prostitute and believing that her body is everything that she had. No person want to see that. So if you begin to give the people the truth, give them an opportunity, a method, a pathway to take her daughter from being that little girl, that charming, beautiful girl, to being a doctor or a lawyer or an entrepreneur, they're going to listen to you. But you've given them so much mess. Our leadership is so much dirt, they've been drinking dirt.